Here's what went down Wednesday, December 10, 2025 on Beyond the Gates when Samantha was left to her own devices. Danny had Kat getting real about Tamaz, and Derek was ready for puck drop. On Beyond the Gates, Kyle stopped by Nicole's office with a bouquet of roses. Nicole agreed that their time at Winterfest had been fun. Then Nicole winced from a sore neck she presumed she'd gotten from sleeping wrong. Kyle noted that he had physical therapist experience along with being an orthopedic surgeon and went to work massaging Nicole's neck. He grinned that he was doing it because he couldn't keep his hands off her. Nicole declared Kyle a miracle worker after her pain was gone, and coyly said she was still tabulating whether or not to accept Kyle's offer of a second date. The shrink wanted to get into the secret behaviors he hadn't revealed their first time out. When Kyle joked that he was being given a free therapy session, Nicole playfully shot back with, "Who said it was free?" Kyle quipped that he left dirty dishes in the sink too long, but when Nicole wanted to know why Kyle was a traveling surgeon, he confessed that he had begun moving around after his wife had died of a heart attack because nowhere had felt like home. The doctor added that he had 2 grown kids who were all right with their father popping in on them from time to time. After Nicole said she couldn't fathom the depth of Kyle's loss, Kyle said that she probably could given hers. They hadn't gone into a TED Talk during their date, but Nicole insisted that for this conversation the focus would be on Kyle. Nicole asked some or questions, then delved into what kind of adventure they would have if she said yes to another date. Kyle winked that depended on whether or not they'd be going out or staying in. Nicole accepted date 2, but mischievously wouldn't say what had tipped the scale. At the nurse's station, Shanice noticed that Ashley had perked up after her time at Winterfest. Ashley had been floored by the event, but when Shanice inquired into how it had been seeing Andre with Danny there, Ashley reported that she and Danny had come to an understanding, and that there had been nothing salacious about their encounter. Shanice was purring that it must be tough getting over a man as fine as that Richardson when Ted arrived. Ted noted that Andre was the only Richardson, and Ashley saw that Shanice went uncharacteristically quiet when Ted mentioned the adventure they had shared together. Hearing that Ted and Shanice had been stuck in the elevator together, Ashley called the lift cursed, while Ted described how being trapped in it had given him a chance to get to know Shanice better. Shanice cut him off when he began to blurt out that Shanice was afraid of birds, but Ashley didn't miss the lighthearted banter her coworkers engaged in. After Ted left, Ashley asked what was really going on with Ted, but Shanice had nothing to say. Derek came in using a hockey stick as a crutch. As Ashley ran off to get a wheelchair for him, Shanice came down on him for using something so unreliable to prop himself up. Derek didn't deny that as a firefighter, he lived for danger and adrenaline. Derek tried to show off but ended up nearly falling. He refused to get back into a wheelchair, so Ashley helped him into a regular seat. Ashley acknowledged that she had made things worse for her and Derek by defending her actions regarding Andre, and Derek apologized for hanging onto her so hard instead of letting go. If he had released her sooner, he said, she might have had a chance with Andre. Ashley and Derek agreed to enter into a mutual forgiveness club together. Later, Shanice brought Derek a proper cane and stressed that he wouldn't have to use it forever. It was just that he wouldn't be able to find a new way of living if he kept leaning on old habits. At the brownstone, Tyrell was surprised to see his sister buried in Stone Age books. Samantha hated still being without her devices as punishment during her grounding, but she had been to the library to look into ways to establish the free clinic she had her mind on. Doing so had even given her the idea to make sure all visitors to the clinic got library cards. Martin and Smitty came home and presented Samantha with a gift, her beloved phone. She was no longer grounded, as long as she remembered to talk to them about what was going on in her life. After Tyrell imitated Martin, and Samantha and Smitty didn't dispute Martin's claim that he didn't sound the way Tyrell had portrayed him, the family ended up in a pillow fight. Getting back onto her socials, Samantha discovered that she had already missed a Barrington County Debutante Society etiquette class related to her upcoming official debut. Tyrell didn't quite understand the importance. Martin pointed out that all Dupree women had gone through this process. Smitty admitted that he didn't have much experience with country clubs, but that he would help Samantha prepare for her coming out in any way he could. Martin appraised his family and decided they were ready for their close-ups pertaining to his upcoming re-election campaign. They were less than enthused, but he promised that this time he would make them his priority and that he would keep their public appearances to a minimum. Martin later met with Ted, who was upset that both of his daughters hadn't been at Winterfest. Martin pointed out that Ted couldn't force Eva and Kat to get along and challenged Ted's claim that the very different Danny and Nicole had managed it. They had grown up together, Martin observed, while Eva had come into Kat's life under suspicious circumstances. Ted pondered that Martin seemed to be coming over to Kat's side, though Martin replied that Kat had a right to her feelings. She had been mistrustful of Eva from the beginning and her cherished father hadn't listened to her. Ted scoffed that he couldn't just accept everything Kat said. Martin reminded Ted that Kat felt resentful over Ted lavishing affection on Eva. As for Martin himself, he maintained that he hated Ted's cheating on Nicole, but he had learned that that hadn't been the end. Martin, especially based on his own secrecy which had nearly destroyed things with Smitty, had come to believe in new beginnings. Kat showed Danny some new, futuristic designs that Chelsea was working on, but after Danny credited herself for making such an incredible human, she noticed how Kat's face had fallen when her phone went off. Once Kat explained that Tamaz wanted her to move in with him, Danny didn't see what the problem was, seeing cohabitation as a natural next step. That said, Danny hoped that, as Bill's mentee, Tamaz hadn't adopted Bill's questionable life ethics and workaholic tendencies. During their marriage, Danny had been sure that Bill would work himself into an early grave. Bill finished his poison tea, grimacing at the taste. As he got up from his desk to attend a meeting, he became unsteady and collapsed onto the floor. Haley called for Bill to wake up and frantically called Randy, who disapproved upon hearing that his cousin had upped Bill's dose. Randy demanded that Haley check to determine whether Bill was dead, but Haley squeamishly didn't want to touch a potential corpse. When Randy didn't give Haley the answers she wanted, she hung up on him and beseeched Bill to wake up. "This wasn't the time nor the place," she exclaimed. "Move, damn it, move," Haley yelped before she smacked Bill hard in the face, which brought him around. Bill couldn't understand what had happened and wondered if he needed help, but Haley, guiding Bill onto his couch, smiled that she was all he needed. Haley began to text a disguised boutique, but when Bill saw her on her phone, she claimed she was calling 911. Bill discouraged her, presuming that he might simply have fainted as a result of fasting ahead of his blood tests that morning. His expression changed when he realized that all he'd consumed that day was the tea Haley had given him. Randy approached Shanice at the hospital, asking into the condition of a friend, but not giving her any details to work with. When Shanice moved to look up the apparent patient in the system and asked for his name, Randy thought better of it and excused himself, confusing Shanice. Ted returned as Nicole and Kyle emerged from her office. He watched as Kyle knowingly said that he already had some ideas for their second date and kissed Nicole on the cheek before departing. After Ted sighed to Shanice that he wanted Nicole to move on but that it hurt to witness it, Shanice called Ted a good man and promised to remind him of that fact when needed. Bill stared at the empty cup of tea while Haley rummaged through the break room to find him something to eat. Once she returned with orange juice and cookies, Haley wondered if Bill had had another stroke and postulated that she couldn't imagine her life without him. Bill decided to get checked out by professionals after all and found Haley's objections odd since she had just been ready to call an ambulance herself. Haley proclaimed that Bill had just had tests done, which had revealed him to be in tip-top shape. Yet when Haley vowed to take special care of him, Bill deemed it almost too good to be true and wore a wary expression as she hugged him. As Kat stared at the appreciation award she had been given by Banneker University, she told her aunt that she was the problem. Though she had forgiven Tamaz for sleeping with Eva, she was still hesitant to move in with him because she was afraid that something would come along and take him away from her. Danny understood Kat's reluctance and advised her to take time to make sure what she and Tamaz had was really love, though she didn't want Kat equating her situation with Tamaz to hers with Bill. Kat became emotional and roared that Tamaz had slept with a monster who had ripped a hole in her life. Danny got Kat to promise that she'd dump Tamaz if he ever did anything like that again, then asked if it were possible for Kat to forgive Eva since she had given Tamaz a clean slate. Kat erupted that she didn't buy Eva's reformed Jezebel act and that everyone in her family was non-believers. Besides, was there a chance that Danny could forgive Haley? Danny conceded the point, though she uttered, "I thought I could hold a grudge." Beyond the Gates airs weekdays on CBS and streams on Paramount+.